The thunderclap shattered the night like a gunshot, and Ethan Harper's world went dark. Literally. His phone, his only lifeline in this godforsaken new city, flickered once and died in his hand, leaving him stranded in a puddle-soaked hallway that smelled of rain and regret. "Shit," he muttered, pounding on the door across from his, the one with the faint glow seeping under it, praying whoever answered wouldn't slam it in his face before he could beg for a goddamn outlet. The door creaked open, revealing a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a faded Polaroid. Silver hair pinned in a loose bun, eyes sharp as Lake Michigan ice, wrapped in a cardigan that had seen better decades. "Young man," she said, her voice a mix of Midwestern steel and unexpected warmth. "If you're selling something, I've got a rolling pin with your name on it." But then she saw his dripping coat, the limp cord in his fist, and her expression softened into something dangerously close to pity. "Come in before you flood my welcome mat, and hand over that phone. Looks like it surrendered to the storm." Ethan stumbled inside, the door clicking shut behind him like the seal on a secret he didn't know he was keeping. The apartment enveloped him in a haze of chamomile tea and old books, a sanctuary amid Chicago's relentless gale. He hadn't meant to spill his guts. New job, fresh divorce from a life back in Ohio that never fit, the gnawing loneliness of being 28 and gay in a city that promised reinvention but delivered isolation instead. But Lila Harlan listened, her arthritic fingers steady on the kettle, nodding like she'd heard every sorry tale from Wrigleyville to the Loop. By the time his phone buzzed back to life, Ethan realized he'd borrowed more than electricity. He'd cracked open a door to something raw and real, and there was no closing it now. That night blurred into a haze of lightning flashes and Lila's stories, the kind that wrapped around you like her threadbare quilt. Ethan learned she was 72, widowed for a decade, her husband a cop who'd chased shadows until one swallowed him whole. She lived alone in this creaky walk-up on the edge of Lincoln Park, tending a window herb garden that defied the concrete jungle outside. "Plants don't judge," she'd said, plucking a basil leaf and pressing it into his palm. "People, though, they'll uproot you faster than a Windy City twister." He left at dawn, promising to return the favor, maybe fix that flickering lamp she'd mentioned. But as he fumbled with his keys in the dim hall, Ethan felt the pull, that invisible tether snagging at his chest. Chicago had chewed him up already. The architecture firm where he sketched blueprints for soulless condos, the grinder dates that fizzled into awkward silences, the echo of his ex's voice calling him too sensitive one last time before hanging up. Lila's place, with its mismatched mugs and jazz records spinning low, felt like the first solid thing since he'd crossed the state line. By week's end, the storm had passed, but Ethan found excuses to knock again. First, it was the outlet. His own wiring was shot, courtesy of the building's ancient bones. Lila waved him in with a laugh, her eyes crinkling like parchment. "Borrow away, kid. Just don't short-circuit my heart monitor." They fell into a rhythm. He'd plug in, she'd brew Earl Grey, and the conversation meandered like the Chicago River. Lazy bends into family, sharper turns into loss. Lila's tales were laced with a quiet ache, especially when she spoke of her son, Ryan. The name dropped like a skipped stone, rippling out in fragments. "He was my wild one," she'd say, stirring sugar into her cup with unnecessary vigor. "Built forts in the backyard, drew murals on the garage walls. Art was his blood." Ethan pictured a boy with paint-streaked hands, chasing fireflies under Indiana summers before they transplanted to the city. But the stories soured at the edges. Ryan's coming out at 17, the family dinner that exploded into shrapnel, his father's stony silence, the church elders whispering poison. Ryan fled to New York at 18, cutting ties like frayed mooring lines. Lila hadn't heard his voice in 8 years, only glimpsed his success in art magazines. Rising star, queer icon, installations that screamed rebellion from Soho galleries. Ethan listened, his own scars itching in sympathy. He'd hidden his truth through high school, buried it under football cheers and straight-A facades, only to unearth it in college amid keggers and quiet confessions. His parents had tried therapy sessions, phase lectures, but acceptance came slow, like thawing permafrost. You ever think about reaching out? He asked one evening, as rain pattered against the panes again. Lila's gaze drifted to a framed photo on the mantel. A lanky teen with her eyes and a defiant grin, arms slung around her shoulders. Every damn day. But bridges burned don't rebuild themselves. She sighed, folding her hands. He thinks I chose sides. I didn't, I was just scared. That fear Ethan knew intimately. It had driven him from Ohio, chasing blueprints that might finally sketch a life unapologetic. He started small favors, debugging her ancient laptop, ordering groceries when snow blanketed the streets. Lila countered with home-cooked pierogies and stories of Ryan's childhood pranks. The time he dyed the neighbor's cat blue for a school project. Laughter bridged the gaps, but Ethan saw the hollows under her eyes, the way her hands trembled signing checks. One February afternoon, blizzard howling outside, Lila handed him a shoebox from her closet. For safekeeping, she said, voice thick. Inside, letters never sent, sketches yellowed with age, a lock of baby hair tied in ribbon. Ryan's relics. Ethan traced the pencil lines. A cityscape fierce with spires and shadows, and felt a spark. Not pity, but possibility. What if I helped, he ventured. Wrote an email. Neutral ground. She shook her head, but her eyes gleamed. You're a fixer, Ethan. That's why you fit here. He didn't, not really. His own life was a half-built scaffold. Dates ghosting after mentions of his complicated family. But with Lila he felt useful, seen. That night, as he drafted a message from her account. Simple, aching. Ryan, it's been too long. The basil's overgrown again. Come home. Ethan wondered if he was mending her or himself. The email bounced. Undeliverable. Ryan's address had changed, a digital ghosting. Lila deflated like a punctured tire, but Ethan couldn't let it end there. He scoured the web on his lunch breaks, piecing together Ryan Harlan. 30 now, exhibiting at the Whitney, interviews laced with fire about queer erasure and parental betrayal. A photo stopped him cold. Ryan at a gala, sharp jawline shadowed, eyes like Lila's but stormier, holding a canvas that bled crimson defiance. Ethan's pulse quickened. It wasn't just curiosity. It was recognition, the kind that hummed under skin. I could go, Ethan blurted over meatloaf the next week. To New York. Find him in person. Tell him. You're sorry. That you're proud. Lila stared, fork midway to her mouth, then set it down with a clink. You'd do that? For a stranger? You're not a stranger. He reached across the table, squeezing her hand, cool, veined like marble. And maybe, I need this too. She nodded, tears carving tracks. Be careful, Ethan. Hearts aren't blueprints. They don't always hold. Packing for the red-eye, Ethan felt the thrill of recklessness, the kind Chicago winters bred. His firm granted a week's leave, miracle or pity, he didn't care. As the plane banked over the endless grid below, he clutched Lila's letter in his pocket, words she dictated. I failed you, but I never stopped loving the boy who painted my world brighter. New York loomed, a glittering trap, and Ethan wondered if he was delivering redemption or walking into his own unraveling. The city hit like a fever dream, horns blaring, steam rising from grates, bodies brushing in perpetual motion. Ethan checked into a budget flophouse in Chelsea, the kind with thin walls and dreams of glory. Ryan's gallery show was that night, a solo exhibit titled Exile's Edge, hyped in Time Out as a queer odyssey through fractured homes. Tickets scalped for triple, but Ethan's charm and a fake press badge, cobbled from his firm's logo, got him inside. The space pulsed with low lights and wine flutes clinking, air thick with perfume and pretense. Ethan's eyes scanned the crowd, lithe figures in tailored suits, whispers of brilliant and raw, until they locked on him. Ryan Harlan stood by a massive installation, twisted metal and canvas evoking barbed wire hearts, his frame lean and commanding in a black shirt rolled to elbows, tattoos snaking like secrets. Up close, he was magnetic, dark curls falling over brows, lips curved in polite detachment as he fielded questions. Ethan hovered, heart hammering, until a lull. Incredible work, he said, gesturing to the piece. It's like screaming without sound. Ryan turned, those eyes, Lila's eyes, piercing. Thanks. Most people just say, edgy. A smirk, testing. Up close, Ethan caught the faint scar above his lip, the way his fingers twitched like they itched for charcoal. I'm Ethan, from Chicago. Saw your interview in the Tribune. Something about roots you can't outrun. Lie, half-truth. He'd devoured every scrap online. Ryan's gaze sharpened. Roots? More like weeds choking the garden. He sipped his drink, but lingered. They talked art bleeding into architecture, cities as cages or canvases. Ryan's laugh was rare, rusty, but when it came, it warmed the room. Ethan felt it coil low, that forbidden spark, attraction laced with purpose. As the night thinned, Ryan slipped him a card. If you're in town tomorrow, studio's open. Payback for the flattery. Ethan left dazed, the letter burning a hole. Mission teetering on desire. The studio was a warehouse loft in Bushwick, graffiti-strewn walls and turpentine sting. Ryan worked shirtless, sweat gleaming on inked skin as he slashed paint across a dropcloth the size of a billboard. Ethan arrived with coffee, peace offering, and watched, mesmerized, as fury translated to beauty. You're staring, Ryan said without turning, voice edged but amused. Artist's block cured by an audience? Ethan quipped, handing over the cup. They fell into easy orbit. Ryan venting about critics who queer-washed his pain. Ethan sharing blueprints of unbuilt dreams. Hours slipped. Takeout arrived, then a bottle of bourbon. Stories poured, Ryan's escape to Pratt, the hookups that healed nothing, the gallery that finally saw him. And you? Ryan leaned close, elbows on knees, the air electric. What chases a Midwestern boy to the Big Apple? Ethan hesitated, the letter heavy in his bag. Family stuff, loose ends. Their knees brushed, neither moved. When Ryan's hand grazed his casual, then not, Ethan leaned in, the kiss tentative, then consuming. Lips tasting of bourbon and bravery, hands mapping uncharted lines. It was fire, uncomplicated, until guilt twisted in Ethan's gut. They tumbled into rhythm over days. Mornings in the studio, afternoons wandering the High Line, evenings tangled in sheets that smelled of oil paint. Ryan opened like a rare bloom, fears of fading talent, the hollow of success without anchor. Ethan confessed fragments. The ex who called love cliché, the parents' tepid pride. You're different, Ryan murmured one dawn, fingers tracing Ethan's jaw. Steady, like you build things to last. But the lie festered. On day 4, as Ryan sketched Ethan's profile, eyes closed in sleep, Ethan slipped out, letter in hand. He paced the loft's fire escape, city sprawl mocking his cowardice. Just tell him, deliver it and go. But when Ryan stirred, Ethan folded it away, pulling him close instead. Procrastination or protection. The line blurred. The betrayal brewed slow, then erupted. Lila called midweek, voicemail crackling. Any word, dear? Snow's piling up, Basil's wilting. Ethan deleted it, but Ryan, rummaging for his phone charger, irony biting, unearthed the printed letter from Ethan's jacket. The gasp echoed. You. What? Ryan's face drained of color, the paper crumpling in his fist. Chicago. The coffee. The chance meeting at the gallery. She sent you? His voice cracked, raw as exposed wire. Ethan bolted up, sheets pooling. Ryan, wait. It's not like that. She loves you. She's sorry. I came because she couldn't face her fuck-up herself? Ryan hurled the letter, words scattering like shrapnel. I trusted you, let you in, and you're her errand boy. The pain twisted to fury, years worth. Get out, both of you. Stay the fuck out of my life. Doors slammed. Ethan fled into the rain-slick streets, sobs choking him. New York turned hostile. Taxis splashing gutters, strangers blurring. He holed up in the flophouse, replaying the wreckage. Ryan's eyes, once warm, now shattered glass. Betrayal's sting was mutual. He'd fallen, hard, and lost before claiming it. Back in Chicago, Lila waited with pie and questions. Did you find him? Her hope fractured at Ethan's silence, the slump of his shoulders. He couldn't lie, not fully. Mumbled of a meeting, a wall too high. Guilt doubled. He'd failed her, himself, the fragile thing with Ryan. Nights blurred into work binges, sketches of impossible bridges, bars where faces blurred but none stuck. Spring thawed the city, but Ethan's frost lingered. Lila faded, doctor visits for her heart, the monitor beeping accusations. You look like I feel, she teased weakly one afternoon, herb tea steaming between them. Ethan confessed then, halting. The spark, the kiss, the explosion. Lila wept, not for joy, but sorrow's echo. I drove him away once. Can't let you carry that too. She penned a new letter, fiercer, unfiltered. I was wrong, scared. But pride doesn't heal. Come rage at me, Ryan. Or don't. But no, I see you now, all of you. Ethan addressed it to the gallery. No return. A Hail Mary. Weeks later, a knock. Not thunder, but hesitant. Ethan opened to Ryan, drenched, duffel at feet, eyes red-rimmed. She wrote, You stayed. No accusations, just exhaustion. They stood there, air thick, until Ryan stepped in, collapsing against him. I hated you, then I missed you. Stupid, right? Words tumbled. Ryan's flight from the show, a cross-country drive replaying their nights, the realization that exile cut both ways. Lila's letter had cracked the dam. Not forgiveness instant, but a start. They talked till dawn, wounds aired like laundry, mending stitch by tentative stitch. Reconciliation came gradual. Ryan visited Lila first alone. A Sunday lunch of pierogies and tears, her hand in his, basil clippings pressed into his palm. Grow your own, she said. But come back. He did, with Ethan trailing, the three weaving a new tapestry. Art shows in the living room, blueprints of a garden studio, laughter overriding silences. Ethan and Ryan's love deepened in the quiet, walks along the lake, hands linked against wind, sketches of shared futures. No grand gestures, just the humanistic grind. Therapy sessions unpacking baggage, pride parades where Ryan's murals flanked the floats. Betrayal's scar faded to lesson, trust rebuilt brick by brick. One summer eve, as fireflies danced like Ryan's boyhood forts, Lila raised a toast from her porch rocker. To outlets, she winked, and the power they lend. Ethan squeezed Ryan's hand, the tether complete. In Chicago's embrace, flawed, fierce, they'd borrowed more than electricity. They'd claimed a family, unexpected, enduring. The basil wilted anyway that summer, a casualty of Lila's trembling hands and the heat wave that turned the walk-up into a sauna. Ethan found her slumped in the kitchen one July morning, forehead beaded with sweat, the monitor's wail a siren's call. Lila! He dropped his sketchpad, dialing 911 with fingers that wouldn't steady. Ryan burst in minutes later, summoned by Ethan's frantic text. His face a mask of the boy who'd once bandaged her scraped knees. The ER was a blur of beeps and bleach, doctors murmuring congestive heart failure, like a verdict. Lila rallied, stubborn as lake-effect snow, but the scare etched lines deeper. Ryan stayed, sketching idly on napkins while Ethan paced, their roles inverting. The prodigal nursing the prodigal's mother. She needs us, Ryan whispered that night in the hospital waiting room, head on Ethan's shoulder. Both. They tag-teamed her discharge. Ryan handling the art world's chaos via Zoom. Ethan retrofitting the apartment with ramps and monitors, his architect's eye turning necessity to grace. Lila grumbled, but her eyes shone when they bickered over paint swatches for her prison cell, as she called it. Blue, Ryan insisted, like the lake we used to skip stones on. Ethan countered with green. For the herbs that'll outlive us all. She chose both, a mural blooming on her wall. Waves crashing into foliage, Ryan's brush, Ethan's lines. Chicago thrummed around them, indifferent to private salvations. Ethan's firm landed a bid on a queer youth center downtown, Progressive design, rainbow accents in the steel. He poured himself in, late nights at the drafting table, Ryan critiquing over takeout. Make the atrium a refuge, Ryan said, charcoal-smudged fingers on Ethan's wrist. Somewhere light pierces the dark. Their intimacy wove deeper. Lazy Sundays tracing tattoos, confessions over coffee. Ryan's fear of irrelevance, Ethan's of invisibility. Love, Ethan learned, wasn't absence of storm but dancing in it. But conflict simmered, unbidden. Ryan's New York agent called mid-August, dangling a residency in Berlin 6 months, prestige, escape. It's huge, he said, pacing the loft they'd sublet together. A sun-drenched space above a bookstore. Ethan nodded, throat tight. Go. It's your wave. But inside, dread coiled. The last time distance struck, it severed. Ryan saw it, pulled him close. Not leaving you. Us. Yet doubt lingered, a shadow in the light. Lila sensed the fracture, cornering Ethan during a checkup. He's scared too, you know, of becoming his father. Gone before you're ready. Her words landed like rain on parched earth. Ethan visited his own ghosts that weekend, driving south to Ohio unannounced. His parents' farm stood weathered, silo sentinel. They hugged awkward at the door, dinner a minefield of small talk. Proud of you, son. His dad grunted over pie, eyes averted. His mom slipped him a photo, Ethan's high school graduation, grin wide. We see you now. All of you. Not perfect, but progress. Driving back, Ethan texted Ryan. Roots bend. They don't always break. September brought the center's groundbreaking. Shovels in soil under a cerulean sky, Lila in her wheelchair front row, clapping with veined hands. Ryan's piece flanked the stage. A sculpture of interlocking gears, etched with affirmations, visible, valid, victorious. The crowd, queer kids with fresh piercings, elders with canes, erupted, and Ethan, arm around Ryan, felt the humanistic pulse. Not erasure, but echo. But thrill turned to trial when Ryan's decision loomed. The agent pushed, Berlin's your breakthrough. And Ryan wavered, studio sketches turning frantic. One night, bourbon flowing, it spilled. What if I go and lose this? Us. Ethan, raw from a sight delay, snapped. Then stay and resent it. Like I resent the safe choices that trapped me here. Silence cracked like ice. Ryan stormed out, door rattling the windows. Ethan didn't sleep, replaying the venom. By dawn, guilt propelled him to Lila's. She answered in robe, eyes knowing. Fights are bridges too, dear. Cross or burn. She handed him Ryan's old sketchbook, pages filled with aborted starts. He draws when he's lost. Find him. Ryan was at the lakefront, sketchpad open to a half-formed horizon, waves lapping like accusations. Ethan sat beside, no words at first. I'm sorry. Fear makes me small. Ryan's hand found his, cold but sure. Me too. Berlin is not home. You are. They kissed, salt-tanged. Reconciliation in the rhythm of breath. The residency? Deferred. Life, they agreed, was the real canvas. Fall gilded the city, leaves carpeting paths. Lila's health steadied, new meds. A physical therapist named Marla who flirted shamelessly with Ryan, earning Lila's cackle. The trio solidified. Thanksgivings with pierogies and turkey. Ryan's exhibit at the youth center drawing crowds that spilled into stories shared. Ethan proposed quietly one December eve, on the fire escape under stars smudged by city glow. A ring simple as a blueprint line. Ryan's yes was a laugh, tear-streaked. But drama shadowed even joy. A letter arrived in spring. Ryan's father, long estranged, postmarked from a hospice in Indiana. Cancer, stage 4. Wants to see the boy. The note read, scrawled shaky. Ryan crumpled it, fury flaring. Now, after everything. Lila wept silently, the old wound reopening. Ethan mediated, voice steady. Go or don't, but decide for you. The drive south was taut, Ryan's knuckles white on the wheel, Ethan navigating maps and silences. The farmhouse reeked of regret. Tubes snaking, monitors beeping faint. The man in the bed was shadow of memory. Gaunt, eyes hollow. "Son!" he rasped, hand extended. Ryan hesitated, then clasped it, words pouring hurt, absence, the queer life he'd built defiant. "I forgive you," he said finally, voice breaking. "But don't expect parades." The man nodded, tears tracking. "Proud now. Late, but true." They left with ashes weeks later, a scattering on the old garage wall, murals long faded. Ryan painted over them, vibrant, unapologetic. Back in Chicago, the city welcomed with lake breezes, Lila's hug bone-tight. "Full circle," she murmured. Summer swelled, wedding plans blooming like her herbs. The ceremony. Rooftop, youth center atrium, gears glinting under sunset. Vows exchanged amid laughter. Ryan's "You borrowed more than power. You lit me," drawing cheers. Lila, cane in hand, toasted. "To unexpected partners, may they always charge ahead." In the afterglow, as guests danced to jazz records, Ethan pulled Ryan close. Betrayal's echo? Faint, a scar that told strength. Love, they knew, was the ultimate structure, flexible, enduring, American in its messy grace. The wedding's confetti had barely settled when the real storm hit. Not thunder, but the kind that reshapes skylines. Ethan's firm, riding high on the youth center buzz, pitched a massive lakeshore condo tower. Glass spires piercing the horizon, luxury for the elite. He led the design, pouring passion into sustainable curves, green roofs nodding to Lila's basil dreams. Ryan cheered from the sidelines, his own commissions flooding. Murals for subways, queer history portraits for City Hall. Life hummed, a symphony of shared mornings and midnight inspirations. But ambition's undercurrent pulled treacherous. The firm's senior partner, Harlan Graves, no relation, irony cruel, eyed Ethan's sketches with avarice. Bold Harper, but toned down the social justice flair. Clients want escape, not sermons. Ethan pushed back, quietly at first. Rainbow accents stayed, atrium a public space. Graves smiled, teeth sharp. Loyalty's a two-way, kid. Ryan noticed the strain, Ethan's late hours, the scotch neat replacing beer. "Don't let them grind you," he said one night, massaging knotted shoulders in their loft. "You're the builder, not the built." Ethan leaned into it, but doubt gnawed. Was he compromising, like the safe Ohio boy he'd fled? Lila, ever the oracle, hosted a strategy supper. Pierogies fortified with advice. Power's an illusion, boys. Real strength? In the roots. Her health had plateaued, a fragile equilibrium, but her spirit sparked. Ryan sketched her mid-bite, capturing the twinkle. Yet even she glimpsed the rift when Ethan confessed the revisions, subtle erasures of queer motifs. "Fight pretty," she urged. "Or walk." The climax crested at the client presentation. A boardroom of suits in the loop's gleam. Ethan unveiled the model. Elegant, inclusive, a beacon. Applause rippled. Then Graves interjected, slides shifting to his refinements. Gone. The atrium's inclusivity grants, the etched affirmations. "Streamlined for profit," he declared. Ethan's blood roared. This isn't just buildings. It's belonging. The room chilled. Graves' eyes narrowed. Belongings earned, Harper. Not demanded. Whispers followed. Leaked emails. Ethan's activist ties via Ryan's art world. Betrayal, corporate style. Graves had mined his life, twisting vulnerability to leverage. Fired on the spot, Ethan stormed out, the city a blur of honks and hurt. Home was sanctuary, Ryan's arms a harbor. "Fuck them," he growled. But Ethan spiraled. Bills stacking, wedding debt lingering, the fear of failure's bite. "What if I'm not enough?" he whispered, voice small. Ryan cupped his face. "You are. We'll rebuild." But the wound festered. Ryan, juggling deadlines, grew distant, Berlin's ghost resurfacing in late-night calls from the agent. "Just scouting," he claimed, but Ethan smelled sabotage. Resentment at anchoring, the pull of solo glory. Lila mediated again, her voice frail over tea. Storms pass if you lash together. Ethan struck first, proactive. Freelancing pitches to green firms. Networking at art walks where Ryan shone. A lead emerged, revitalizing Pilsen's murals, blending architecture and expression. Ryan co-signed, their pitch a duet. It landed, a lifeline. Yet thrill mounted when Graves circled back, contrite via email. Reconsider. Your vision's key. Temptation dangled, prestige, stability. Ethan agonized, confiding in Lila alone. He gutted me. She nodded, eyes wise. Guts grow back tougher. Choose heart. Ryan discovered the email rifling for takeout menus. Misplaced trust again. You're considering it? After. Hurt-laced accusation, old scars tearing. I thought we were past this. Picking safe over us. Ethan recoiled. It's security. For our future. House. Kids maybe. Adoption dreams. Ryan laughed bitter. Kids? When you can't even commit to now. The fight escalated. Words weapons. Ethan's selfish artist. Ryan's corporate sellout. Doors slammed. Ryan crashed at Lila's, Ethan alone with echoes. Dawn brought clarity or desperation. Ethan drove to Pilsen, spray can in hand. Ryan's medium, borrowed rebellion. He tagged a wall. Interlocking hearts, etched unexpected. A crowd gathered, phones flashing. Virality struck by noon, Chicago hearts trending. Ryan texted, saw it. Studio. Now. Confrontation brewed hot. Ryan's eyes stormlit. What the hell, Ethan? My space. But beneath awe. Ethan dropped to knees, not proposal redux, but plea. I choose us. The pitch, the life. No graves, no ghosts. Ryan hauled him up, kiss bruising. Idiot. I choose too. Berlin's dead. Lila summoned them post-truce, pie cooling on sill. Fools, she chuckled, but tears gleamed. Love's the outlet that never shorts. They rebuilt. Ethan's freelance bloomed. Ryan's murals partnering city projects. Betrayal's thrill yielded to deeper bond. Therapy unpacking triggers. Date nights reclaiming joy. Fall's harvest brought Lila's milestone. 75. A garden party under strung lights. Toasts flowed. To storms weathered, partners forged. As leaves swirled, Ethan whispered to Ryan, borrowed power, endless charge. Their laughter mingled with hers, humanistic harmony in the windy city's whisper. But emotion's tide turned poignant when Lila's doctor called. Tests shadowed. Time's borrowing now, she confided, hands clasped in theirs. Make it count. Ryan painted her portrait that week. Radiant, unbowed, waves and greens entwined. Ethan designed a sunroom edition, lights embrace. Winter whispered warnings. Snow blanketing the unexpected family they'd built. Through it, love's drama unfolded not in climax's crash, but quiet crescendo. Hands held in sterile rooms, stories spun to chase fear. Lila lingered, teaching grace in goodbye. Spring's thaw came gentle, but Lila's faded like morning mist. March mornings found her weaker, breaths shallow, yet her stories flowed undimmed. Ryan's childhood escapades, Ethan's Ohio quirks, the basil that refused to quit. They rotated vigils, the loft a command center of soups and sketchpads. Ryan drew feverishly, portraits capturing her essence. Ethan engineered comforts, voice-activated lights, a window view of budding green. The end arrived unannounced, a Tuesday under gray skies. Ethan was at a sight walk, Ryan at her side when she slipped away, hand in his murmuring, my wild one, proud. He called voice fracturing. Ethan raced back, the city parting slow. They mourned in tandem, funeral a mosaic of faces. Youth center kids with rainbow pins, Pilsen artists toasting pierogies. Ohio kin tentative but present. Grief's theater was raw. Ryan retreating to canvas, slashes of black and gold. Ethan sketching memorials that dissolved in tears. Conflict crested in silence's weight. Ryan lashing at fixer urges. Ethan withdrawing into work's armor. She'd hate this, Ethan said one rain-lashed night, pulling Ryan from the studio floor. Us unraveling. Therapy bridged. Sessions unpacking Loss's betrayal, not of Lila, but life's caprice. She borrowed our hearts, the counselor framed, and left them fuller. Ryan nodded, sketching mid-talk. A trio entwined, eternal. Humanistic healing bloomed in action. They honored her with the Lila Harlan Center. Annexed to the youth space, herb gardens and art ateliers. Outlets literal and metaphorical for queer youth. Groundbreaking drew crowds. Graves even attended, apology genuine this time. Your vision endures, he conceded. Ethan shook, no grudge. Ours does. Summer scorched, but love cooled the blaze. Ryan's exhibit toured borrowed light, installations evoking Lila's glow. Glowing filaments in storm simulations, touchpoints sparking connection. Ethan collaborated, structures cradling the art. Reviews hailed, a testament to unexpected legacies. They adopted Milo that fall. A scrappy terrier from the shelter, Lila's spirit in wagging tail. Walks along the lake became rituals. Ryan tossing sticks, Ethan dreaming aloud of expansions. A family, perhaps, via surrogacy's horizon. Roots and wings, Ryan said, leashing Milo close. Winter's first snow fell on their anniversary. Year 2, marked by a quiet vow renewal on the rooftop, stars pricking the chill. To outlets, Ethan toasted, champagne fizzing. And partners who power through. Ryan's kiss warmed deeper. Unexpected, but ours. Years layered like city strata. Ethan's firm, his now, post-Graves, pioneered inclusive designs. Ryan's renown global yet grounded. Milo's pups scampered in the sunroom. Basil thriving unchecked. Visits to Ohio mended further. Parents gifting a quilt, stitched with pride flags. One crisp autumn, Ryan unveiled a final piece. A mural on their building, Lila Central, silver hair windswept, eyes alight, flanked by 2 men hand in hand, cityscape unfurling. Dedication drew the block. Neighbors toasting, kids tracing lines. For the boroughs that become forever, Ryan read from her letter. As dusk settled, Ethan pulled him aside, the thrill of beginnings echoing endings. Betrayal's old ache, transmuted to strength, conflict to compassion. In America's vast, flawed canvas, Chicago's pulse, New York's echo, they'd scripted a romance not of perfection, but persistence. Human, heartfelt, charged eternal. The end? Not tragedy's curtain, but life's open arch. Love, borrowed once, repaid boundless.